Hello, everyone, and welcome to Developing Palates. I am Aaron Loomis, and we also have on June Liu. Hey, June, how's it going?
Good. I am drinking the highly acclaimed Founders KBS that just came out. So,
Nice.
uh, anyways, Founders, good job. Feel free to send me some of this for free now that I give you a shout out.
So this is the team cigar recap of the Crux Sports. This is a new cigar that was released in January of this year. The length is 4.62 inches. Ring gauge is 35. This is out of the Plasencia factory in Nicaragua. The wrapper is Habano Jalapa. The binder is Indonesian, and the filler is from Nicaragua. The MSRP for this cigar is $3.25, so pretty low cost cigar. So with that said, we could just jump right into our thoughts on the cigar. June, what was your kind of experience with the pre-light?
Um, Pre-light was good in terms of the actual cigar look and flavor pre-light experience. You know, the cigar looked it had a nice little blotchy medium brown color to it. Had a really good, sheen, oily sheen to it. And if you kind of rub your fingers across the wrapper, you could kind of feel some of that oily residue that gets on your fingertips.
Right.
Always a good thing, unless if there's too much, and the cigar won't burn from that sometimes. So, but in terms of kind of every time I see something like a slim ring gauge such as this,
Hmm.
and really like a small Panatella kind of a style. Every time that pops up, the issue of draw pops up.
Hmm.
But just given on the pre-light experience of just kind of touching the wrapper and kind of giving that little squeeze test on the foot and the head, I didn't feel any knots or any of that.
Right.
So I thought that wouldn't be an issue.
Hmm.
Um, so to that extent, everything looked good. I got quite a bit of something that's different that I typically don't get in a cigar is smelling a wrapper. I got quite a bit of red chili out of it.
Okay.
So, that kind of got me thinking, oh man, I hope this isn't one of those where the wrapper experience is just going to be like just full blown, full blast
Right.
powerhouse.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Good. Yeah, I really like the look of this cigar. Like you said, it's a medium brown color, but there was like some dark spots like on the edges of the wrapper, kind of where the wrap lines are. So I just kind of dig the way that looks. It's not like super uniform, but it's also still attractive looking. Like you said, it had a nice sheen on it. A couple of decent sized veins on it, and then like a network of smaller veins. Um, and the caps were applied pretty well and I think it's tougher to apply the caps on a smaller ring gauge cigar because you're not using a lot of tobacco for the caps, and it's a very um, the roundness is very quick, so there's not like a lot of flat area that you might have in even a robusto or something larger than that, where you get a little bit of flat spot on the head and then it kind of rounds on the shoulder. So
Mhm.
it looked good there. Aroma wise, the wrapper was uh, pretty sweet smelling to me, and the foot was not as sweet. And typically it's reverse for me. The foot's always sweeter than the wrapper is, but this is a bit reversed. So the foot was like dry grass, hay, and a little bit of leather, but the wrapper was a little bit more sweet for me. So getting into the actual flavor of the cigar, kind of take us through first through final third for you.
Yeah. Overall, with something like this, I feel like when I get into it, I expect something that's kind of a one note flavor.
Right.
But it wasn't the case for the cigar. So running through the first third, immediately there was a lot of balance, a lot of flavor,
Mhm.
fairly rich flavors. I got quite a bit of like semi-sweet chocolate, dry roasted nuts, and that graham cracker biscuity, dry biscuity flavor.
Mhm.
And then I had sort of a generic black pepper spice that rounded it out. All the other flavors that I just mentioned. And even through the retrohale, the cigar still tasted well balanced.
Mhm.
Um, so, So that was the first third, and the second third is I felt like where the cigar was, really came to life. So the flavors that I just mentioned, a lot of that really intensified. And I even got some new notes of like a underripe stone fruit note to it.
Right.
That was really welcoming into the entire mix of flavors. Um, and the black pepper spice kind of morphed into this mouth-watering, kind of a palate-sticking, oily pepper to it.
Hmm.
And I really dug that. And like I said, within such a small vitola such as this, I didn't expect that, and it was a very welcoming surprise. So kind of going down to the last third of it, it just kind of the cigar for me got too hot. Even at the start of the last third, the smoke was pretty hot,
Hmm.
and I think with that, it kind of amped up the uh, oily, peppery aspect of it that much more,
Right.
and it accentuated that. Um, and the complexity just really died down on the last third for me. So
Right.
all in all, I mean, I would say it was a good first third. It was a really good second third, and the last third kind of it was average. I mean, it wasn't, but even if I say that on the last third, there was nothing off-putting. It was just that became more of a one-note wonder for me that I
Right.
expected.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
how about you?
Yeah, for me, once I lit up the cigar, I was getting like this really bright, super concentrated sweetness for like 4 draws or so. Um, and it was almost similar to the kind of that sweetness I described when we were smoking the Super Unknown. Um, but it wasn't necessarily off-putting. I'm not sure really how to explain that, but after about 4 draws, that died down, and I was getting like a sweet oak with a little bit of spice on the finish. The retro hail also had some of the sweetness on it, but the spice was a bit more present in the retro hail for me. Um, but then as the cigar went along, sweetness died down, um, but it was still there, and it still reminded me of like an artificial sweetener, so like a Splenda or a Equal or something like that. But it wasn't something that I didn't like. It was just you knew it was there. It wasn't like a sugar sweetness. It was definitely an artificial sweetness. Um, but the retrohale just really like it really morphed into this really heavy oak that was really nice. Kind of as it got towards the end of that first third, and that first third was right dab in the medium of the strength profile for me. Getting into the second third, that artificial sweetness went away, and the oak stayed, but the sweetness came back onto the retrohale. So kind of went away from the flavor in the mouth, but brought it back in the retrohale. As it went along, I got a little bit of damp, like damp wood and some mineral flavor, but it was like just a couple of quick draws, so I noted it down. But it was an interesting thing that just popped in there for me. But then after that, it went back to like um, oak, and the retrohale was oak with a ton of creaminess on it. And like what you said is in the second third, like the flavor just like amped up for me.
No,
Perfectly what I would consider like a full flavor cigar. Is like the flavor is just there. It's like you're really deep into it, and you're just like this is what I want every cigar to be like. Not necessarily these flavors, but the volume of the flavor and just how it like how your mouth and your nose just kind of like recognizes it and is experiencing it. So that was like that second third was really hitting for me. Then as we get into the final third, I had kind of a similar experience to you. I got mineral back in to mix with the oak. Then the mineral went away. But I got a little bit of coffee midway in through the final third. Um, but then I was having some issues um, at the end where the cigar was getting soft on me. Um, so it was, you know, with the length of the cigar, when you get into the final third, there's not a lot of real estate for you to work with. So, once it's there, it's getting hot, it's getting soft, and it was time to go at that point. So, definitely didn't finish as well as it was going on early, but it wasn't. It also wasn't bad. So I don't want to say it got horrible. I think it just wasn't as good as the other thirds.
no.
So let's talk about performance for you. What was the burn and draw experiences like?
Um, burn for me was great. The burn line, the sturdy ash, just absolutely picture perfect. It's always really cool if I see a cigar and I see the ash hold on tight. And within every draw that I took, you see that little divot that forms on the ash.
Right.
And this was that. I even wrote in my review that the bird should be featured in a photo shoot. um, so burn was great, but I will, give that caveat of, something that's this slim of a vitola, you really got to watch out your draws.
Yeah.
And I will say anything from possibly Corona to smaller to Lanceros, and certainly, Panatella styles like this. The cigar could be burning just fine, and you put it down, and you just poof, and it'll just go out.
Right.
So given that, I would recommend that this is something that a more of a seasoned smoker should pick up, because you get so much flavor off that wrapper, but the offset of that is you really got to pay attention to it.
Right.
So burn was good. It was actually amazing. The draw's poor. The draw's pretty tight on me. It doesn't surprise me that it was. I understand that it's really difficult to roll a vitola like this. If this was rolled the conventional way, meaning the Banchero bunches all the applicable filler and binder leaves together and then puts it in the press in the vitola, and it gets pressed, and then the guy puts the wrapper leaf on it. If it is made in that conventional manner, these must be super small to send a vitola. I don't even know if it even sets in a vitola and something like this, and then in a press. So really, it doesn't surprise me. Does it bum me out? And should it have issues like this? No cigar should have tight draws or loose draws, right?
Right.
But in retrospect, I would rather have within a small ring gauge like this a thinner vitola in which I kind of have to fight with, as compared to a loose one, and which is just going to burn probably pretty hot the entire way.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're pretty dead on in the same area. For me, the burn was really good. Burned really straight, just like some slight variations here or there as the cigar went on, but just that's nitpicking. It's just the cigar went on really well. The cigar did go out on me once, but I contribute that to the draw. Because for me, the draw was super tight as well. And I knew it right on the pre-light draw that I took. But I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you put the flame to it, it opens up right away. But no, it was tight the entire way. And I was hesitant to want to try to take the draw tool to it, because it's with such a thin ring gauge.
Oh yeah.
One poke and you're out through the wrapper, and then now you're gonna have a whole completely different experience. But I did it anyway. I hit it twice. Didn't break any wrapper or anything like that, but it didn't really improve anything. And then as the cigar went along, I even did a second cut just to see if maybe that would help, but that didn't help either. But I did find that, like, if I squeeze the head with my teeth a little bit, I might get a good draw, but I couldn't always reproduce that. So
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I do this with Cuban cigars a lot. This almost feels like I picked up a Por Laranaga Petit Corona, which are notorious for plugs.
Right.
But if you do a draw tool in there and you kind of like fight with the head a little bit, and you kind of keep rolling within your fingers, that does help, but it's not a for sure thing. Like sometimes you'll get a good draw, you're like, oh, I got it. And then another time you get a draw, you're like, well, back to this shitty draw.
Right.
So
overall experience, what do you say?
I say I would love to buy these. I love to have these in hand. So I have two thoughts with this. You know how you go to a bar, you go to a lounge or a club, you get all these stupid motherfuckers out there that smoke their cigarettes outside the club, right?
Yeah.
So this is something where I would take out my little pack of cigarettes, right? And I will light one of these up.
Right.
Of course, given the fact that there's no wind out there, because it'll totally kill it with wind.
Yeah.
So I had that thought in my head when I was smoking this, and I was like, man, this is my, it's basically like cigarillo sort of a style, right?
Right.
And I mean, in terms of just performance, flavor profile, I think that when I look at a cigar, anytime, I think about aroma, flavor, balance, it's got it all. And it's got more than that. It's got complexity as well for such a small cigar.
Right.
And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
This is a cigar for, I think Crux made this not to sell, because the reality it is this kind of Motorola doesn't sell to the
Right.
masses.
Right.
And this is a cigar for cigar geeks and cigar enthusiasts. And just, for us that always search for that ever so amazing flavor, and that it just fits our palate perfectly, I think this is it.
Right.
And especially in a market where there's such few slim ring gauges out there, let alone tasty ones if they have one out there. I think Crux have a winner on this one.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, the flavors are really good, and the fullness of the flavors is just something that I'm always searching for. So when you can get it so that it's, you present the flavors like that, I'm in. But I really wish the draw was better. That's my only complaint about this cigar, is that the draw was better. And I just wonder, like, I would have to assume that the experience would have just been even better if the draw was good. Like, maybe it affected the flavors, maybe it didn't, but I want to see what it's like if I can get one that's got a really good draw, and just kind of see what that is. But just to let people know, like, we don't factor price in to the score. So we're not, value of a cigar is not part of the scoring system. So, we want everybody that reads these or watches these to be the judge as to see what the value is. So if a $40 cigar scores well, you tell me if that's a good value for you versus a lower price cigar that scores as well. They could figure that out. But with that said, for the price that this cigar is, this is a fantastic cigar.
Without a doubt.
Pun fully intended. This is a home run by Crux. I mean, and they do this well. They do some small ring gauge cigars, short vitolas that are priced right, and they have great flavor. So it's just something that they do really well. And I would say they're new. I mean, they're only a couple years old, so that's good as well. But anybody could smoke this cigar. But like you said, it's going to take somebody that knows what they're doing to not maybe overheat it or something like that. But yeah, for people that live in cold weather climates and need like short smokes for the wintertime, this is perfect. And they come in 5-packs that are similar to like the J Fuego originals. So it's like that, almost like a foil pack. You just pop it open and pull your the cigar out of it and go for it. But this is a fantastic cigar. Definitely, like I said, I'd recommend it to pretty much anybody. It's strength wise, it was medium for me most of the way, and in the final third, the strength actually dropped down a little bit, so kind of a mild medium for me. So it's not gonna offend anybody, I don't think, in regards to strength or anything like that either. So kind of hitting into the scores. I mean, I gave it a 7.03. You gave it a 6.47. Pretty close scores. I mean, I think we had not necessarily the flavors that we picked out, but our enjoyment of the flavors and kind of where it hit. That second, third seemed to be the sweet spot for both of us. Both had the draw issues. We have a couple more of these, so we can sit on them for a little bit and try them again, see if we have better luck with the draws. But yeah, for $3.25 a piece. I'm a slow smoker, so I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But do you remember how long it took you to smoke the cigar?
It took me a good probably 40 minutes to do it.
Okay.
So I mean, you could. I think you could take your time and smoke this. You could, at the same rate, kind of, lack of a better term, power puff through it.
Right.
And it'll yield similar results. And primarily, unfortunately, that's due to the tight draw, right? Like, you could try to puff the crap out of it. The draw's still going to be tight, right? So it's not going to, most likely, it's going to help with that big cherry that typically happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on this cigar?
Oh, go buy it. Go smoke it. Good job, Crux. You're continuously hanging out at a park with these slim ring gauges. It's great. It's great for us cigar geeks.
Well, thanks everybody for watching this episode of Developing Palates. If you're just catching this on YouTube, be sure to check out the website for the full review, developingpalates.com. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all those great places. Thank you again, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, guys.